want you, I don't know if I need you, but ooh, I die to find out. That's right, my friends, it's time for another review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. This week's episode was absolutely fantastic, not only carrying the spirit of Part 3 Stardust Crusaders, but managing it to be unique all its own. This week's episode was absolutely fantastic, filled to the brim with lots of action, a very important character death early on in the series, not to mention lots of that crazy, ridiculous, and over-the-top JoJo violence that the series is known for. Not only that, but we got our very first glimpses at the brand new intro, which I think is pretty good, but honestly, I was more surprised by the ending. Carrying in the tradition of the previous seasons of JoJo, they use a Western song for the ending, and in this season, they're going to be using Savage Garden's classic song, I Want You. When I heard that song finally popping up at the end, I just had the biggest smile on my face. I've always really liked that song. It's incredibly catchy, and it's absolutely perfect for this iteration of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. A-ch-ch-chick-a-cherry cola. Kick-ass intros and endings aside, this was another fantastic episode of Diamond is Unbreakable. We got to see Josuke and Jotaro teaming up against the evil Angelo. And Angelo's character is expanded a little bit more in this episode, and while I felt he was a villain who might appear just a little bit longer, he is soundly defeated at the end of this episode, quite literally being turned into a stone monument. Throughout the course of this episode, Angelo is trying to kill Josuke's mother as well as Josuke's grandfather, who just so happens to be one of the cops who put him away all those years ago. We also get to learn a little bit more about Angelo's stand, which is certainly water and aqua based. In fact, it can inhabit just about any form of water. Rain, drinking water, steam, running water, tap water, bath water, you're taking a shower. Basically, you don't want to be anywhere near water where Angelo is, because he will mess your shit up. And he's definitely one of the sickest villains that I've ever seen from the entire series. Case in point, this one scene at the beginning of the episode where he tries to kill Josuke's mother by delivering milk and trying to put his stand in the milk bottle. However, the bottle is broken, his mother notices, and she goes unharmed. And what's really great about this is that she's actually telling Angelo the milkman, be careful where you're walking, my neighbor is walking his dog, and he just lets him crap all over the place, and he ends up stepping right in this dog's crap, and as his mom walks away, Angelo sees the owner of this dog, who I think is either this like little pug or maybe this little bulldog, and he walks over to the dog, picks it up, and bites its face off, grabbing the owner's head and spitting its blood into its mouth, which also contains his stand, which completely just demolishes this guy's brain from the inside, causing it to just explode. This was such a ridiculous and over-the-top violent scene, and it reminds us that things are just going to be as gory and over-the-top as they were in the previous seasons. Just describing that scene out loud makes me realize how fucked up it really was. So next, Angelo is going to try and kill Josuke's mother, and he tries to do that by going into the tap water, and when she's making her coffee, he actually does end up going into her body, but luckily Josuke is able to save her. He sees the stand going in her body at the last second, and he literally punches right through her while holding this glass bottle, which he actually uses to trap the stand in, and then when he reverses time, or when everything does reverse, his mother is unharmed and doesn't even realize anything that's going on. And Angelo knows everything about his grandfather's weaknesses. He knows that when he comes home from work, he has a glass of scotch. So he's actually able to transform this glass bottle into a glass of scotch, and he uses this to go inside of Josuke's grandfather and kill him. This scene is really important because not only is it going to give Josuke something to fight for and something to live for in the future in honor of his grandfather, but we also get to learn the limitations of his stand powers. We already know that he can heal certain people, and we know that he can reverse certain events. In fact, he does actually heal his grandfather's wounds. The problem is, he's dead. He can't actually bring people back to life. This is a really important detail. Not to mention, we also learn that he can't heal his own wounds, only other people's. And so, unfortunately, his grandfather is dead. They have the funeral, and this is when Josuke and Jotaro decide that they're going to have to team up to take out this Angelo guy. So they hold up in this house for a long time while Angelo is sort of biding his time and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And it isn't until it starts raining that we realize how crazy his actual powers are. He can actually travel through the rain, and what he does is he uses this rain to infiltrate the house and basically go through every single place where water is, and either turn it really hot so that he can actually move around in the steam, or actually just travel through the normal water, which is literally leaking through the roof and everywhere in the house. So we're watching Jotaro and Josuke have to constantly run around, try to get away from the steam and anything water related so that they can't get killed by Angelo. However, Josuke came up with this really insane plan where he took this rubber glove and he cut it up into a number of different pieces, and then he swallowed it, so that when Angelo's stand would actually go inside of his body, he would actually use his stand's powers to bring the glove back and actually contain him with that, basically turning him into a water balloon. And this gives them the perfect opportunity to just wail on Angelo. Now, they're not going to turn him into the police, and they're not going to kill him. No, Josuke has this other plan. They basically corner Angelo up against this massive stone monument, and Josuke uses his stand's powers to not only break his hand and get it stuck inside of this giant stone, but he ends up hitting him with a barrage of punches, which actually melds his body into this stone, and he's none the wiser. I'm pretty sure this should have killed him, but then again, he basically has become one with the stone, ending this week's crazy and frankly, very appropriately bizarre episode of Diamond is Unbreakable. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? The second episode is already better than the first for a number of reasons. Like I said, it's really carrying on the spirit of Stardust Crusaders, with the crazy stand users, the incredibly over-the-top violence. That scene where he bites the dog's face off and spits it into its master's mouth was one of the most disturbing things I have ever seen, period. Not just from an anime, and it certainly is upping the ante in terms of what this series can truly get away with. Even with the small amount of censoring there, it's all there for you to see, and frankly, it's just insane. Angelo himself, I'm not too shocked that he was defeated this early on. I mean, they always have to have a villain early on to show you, like, what the main character's powers are going to be like, except that it did come at a big cost. At the death of Josuke's grandfather, who I would feel more sad, but unfortunately we just didn't get to know the character all that much. But his death is going to be a springboard for Josuke becoming a hero, so that is going to be a very important moment. And getting to see more of his powers are also really awesome. His stand is really cool how it works, how it can not only just wail on you, but how it can change certain things, and how he was able to save his mother by holding onto that flask, punching through her body, and trapping the stand in there, and then when everything reversed, she had no idea that anything even went down, and that is really damned cool. Even just inanimate objects that are just sort of randomly around, like how they're busting through the walls, how they'll immediately reform is also really great. Not to mention, we also got the return of freaking Jotaro, who's still just as awesome as he always is. Towards the end of the episode, when Angelo's trying to attack him, and Star Platinum comes out and just constantly keeps wailing at him and punching him against the walls, that's really damn satisfying. The fact that Jotaro and Josuke also happen to have stands which are very similar is also really cool, because getting to see them team up together is just really great. Their personalities are so different, but they make a really fantastic team, and I can't wait to see more interactions between these characters in the future, and getting to see some more of the new guys, and maybe even some more of the old returning characters. It is heavily implied in this episode that Josuke's mother is still very much in love with Joseph Joestar, so I can't wait to see an interaction between those characters to see if she's going to immediately be head over heels for him, or if she's going to be really pissed. Even more so, seeing Josuke's reaction to his father as well. I cannot wait to see how that is going to go down. I imagine he's probably not going to be too happy about any of this, but then again, Josuke happens to be a pretty happy-go-lucky guy as long as you don't mess with his hair whatsoever. What I will say is, this week's episode was just damned awesome. Exactly what the doctor ordered, and it's still already my favorite show of the season. I am really biased when it comes to JoJo, because this show just really takes me back to an old school place of seeing anime for the first time, of seeing really over-the-top, gory, action-packed anime from the 1980s that I rented at Blockbuster, which I totally should not have seen as a younger kid. It really is bringing me that old school feeling, while at the same time being something completely new and unique, and its art style is just so inviting and awesome. Like I said, I think the intro is okay. I don't think it even comes close, though, to the intros that we had in Stardust Crusaders, which I felt had a much better theme song, and just the imagery I thought was a lot better. This one just seems a little more standard, although it is an intro that I am going to have to watch a couple of more times to try and get used to it. That being said, the ending is just awesome. I love the song choice. It really took me back to the mid-90s, and I really appreciate that. They always seem to do that with this show by having really appropriate Western songs like for their endings. It's just great. Again, that one also has some pretty decent imagery, just showing off a lot of the main characters from the show. Josuke even singing along to the lyrics is pretty damn funny. So this was another incredibly fantastic episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable. I can't wait to see where the series is going to go from here. I'm completely enamored with this series at this point. So I'm going to give this episode right here a 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it. I had no complaint with this episode. It was completely entertaining from beginning to end, and JoJo fans should definitely check it out. Whether you've been reading the manga or you've just been following the anime adaptations, you're definitely going to see something you like in this episode. So you've heard my thoughts about this week's episode, but I would love to hear from you guys. What did you think of this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Were you shocked at the death of Josuke's grandfather? What did you think of Angelo as a villain? Did you have a favorite scene from this week's episode? Did you think the violence was a little too over the top and gratuitous? And what do you want to see from the rest of Diamond is Unbreakable? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. I really appreciate it. Make sure to share it with all of your friends. And if you would like to, please subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be able to see all of our latest anime and manga reviews. You guys can also follow us on social media, and you should also check out our weekly podcast show, The Powerful Nerdcast. You can find all of that stuff in the description box below. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!